The story begins with a noble family traveling together through the woods. However, all of them get stuck. Their father tries to protect them, but unfortunately, he's killed by a monster lurking in the woods. The monster, called the Leshen, starts attacking other family members. The kids run away but suddenly bump into Vesemir, a witcher. Vesemir doesn't seem to be afraid of the monster. He starts walking towards it, which leads to a stare down between them. They prepare for a fight, and the monster strikes first. They exchange blows, and Vesemir masterfully uses his sword. After some time of fighting, he jumps on a tree and consumes a potion. Then, both jump towards each other for one final blow, but Vesemir manages to kill it. However, before dying, the Leshen says something to Vesemir, which leads Vesemir to believe that it was sent by someone or controlled by someone. We see a woman named Tyra, who's convinced the king that all the recent monster attacks are just part of a conspiracy led by the witches. They're launching these monsters upon people just so they can have a source of income since not many monsters exist anymore. However, Lady Tserst, who's sympathetic to the witches and their cause, opposes her. She says that there's no proof of what she's saying and mocks her. Hence, the king also decides in favor of the witchers and decides to let them do their work until Tyra brings solid proof of this conspiracy. On the other hand, Vesemir asks his friend, Filavandrel, about what the monster said. He translates it to beware the den of my dead. He then asks Vesemir if he felt something weird or unusual, and he says that he did feel it, as if some sort of magic was controlling the monster. The elf reveals that many elven girls have been disappearing, so he thinks there might be a connection between the disappearance and these mind control lessons. He asks Vesemir for help, but he disagrees, which makes him a little annoyed and angry, so he leaves. After he leaves, Vesemir is left alone and starts remembering his childhood. He used to work for a noble family once. The mistress fell ill suddenly, so his father sent him to the market. Vesemir is traveling with the donkey, and Elena suddenly throws a snowball at him. They greet each other and start talking. After some time, Vesemir suggests they should buy a cake instead with the money his father gave him for the mistress's herbs. They go to the market and successfully manage to steal the herb. However, they're caught by a tall and scary man. He's a witcher named Djelen, and he confronts them. He asks to be taken to their mistress, or he'll hand them over to the merchant they stole from. So, they do as he says. Upon reaching there, Djelen deduces that the woman was possessed by a monster called Mahar. He asks everyone else to leave the room. However, Djelen also suggests that the boy should stay there. When the room's empty, he throws a bag at Vesemir, tasking him with catching the monster. Djelen starts exorcising the monster, which makes Vesemir scared. While the monster leaves the mistress's body, it attacks Vesemir and then tries to run away. However, Vesemir runs after the monster, who suddenly transforms into Elena and then tries to jump out of the window. After escaping Vesemir, as soon as it reaches the window, Djelen throws a knife at it, which pierces through its body and eventually kills it. Before leaving, he gives a share of his payment to the young Vesemir. The amount of money made by the witcher amazes him. Getting impressed by all the wealth, Vesemir asks the witcher to take him with him. Djelen eventually offers him to come with him, and Vesemir, taking up the offer, goes to Karamahan. After years of brutal training and body-altering experiments, Vesemir becomes a successful witcher, notorious for his blade as well as his cockiness. In the present, Vesemir visits the castle at Karamahan. He meets one of his friends named Luca. Afterwards, Vesemir reads the letter, which says that witches are only meant for violence, and they're all dishonest. Vesemir meets Djelen, who's now old and has seemingly lost one of his eyes. He asks Vesemir about the lesson he taught, and Vesemir tells him some details. Then, Vesemir reluctantly oversees the training of a young Geralt, Cohen, Lambert, and Ezekiel. The kids are quite angry because their training is very tough. One of the kids complains. Vesemir starts attacking them and tells them that there are no breaks in the real world. If they want a chance to survive this world, they should train properly. And if not, then this isn't the right place for them. Back in the past, we see Luca as a kid. He says the same words which Vesemir said, indicating that it's a common speech that the trainers use. After that, they go to sleep. When they wake up, they find themselves in a swamp. As more of them wake up, they realize they're being chased by monsters. Some of the kids are killed by these monsters. Some of these monsters start chasing Vesemir. He decides to run away, however, he falls off a cliff and wakes up on a bed. After waking up, he meets Ray Drake, a mage who creates witches. Soon, Djelen walks in and informs Vesemir that there's a letter for him. It was sent by his friend, Elena. The letter informs Vesemir that the village was overtaken by another family, and his father was killed during the whole process. Then we see a montage of how these young boys are trained to be a witcher. They must face harsh training. Not everyone survives this training, but Vesemir manages to succeed and becomes one of the most talented witchers. Back in the present, Vesemir and Luca are having a drink in the bar. Suddenly, A knight walks up to them and starts criticizing them. He says that witches are quite useless now. All they do is scare and overcharge the people. The knight's behavior prompts Luca to get up and make fun of him. All of them fight, and the results don't favor these knights as Luca and Vesemir manage to kill them. Vesemir and Luca are imprisoned due to this. On the other hand, Tyra implores the king to execute the imprisoned witches, but Lady Xerxes persuades the king to instead send Vesemir, along with Tyra, to the forest to rid the place of the spell. After some time, Vesemir is taken from his cell and thrown into another room. He meets Lady Xerxes, who's an older Elena. She tells him that she got married to Lord Xerxes, whose family took over their city. However, he's passed away since then. She tries to talk him into a mission. She wants him to go to the forest and take care of the monsters who are disturbing the people. She adds that Vesemir will be joined by another ally. This ally is none other than Detroit. As they walk in the forest, they realize they're surrounded by an illusion that's hiding the reality of the forest. Detroit uses her magic to dismiss the illusion and finds herself on the edge of a cliff. Venturing into the forest, Vesemir and Tyra meet a female hybrid humanoid named Kitsu who sends a basilisk after the two. Vesemir successfully slays the monster. Kitsu grieves on the body of this slain basilisk. Suddenly, snow starts sliding downwards, and Kitsu finds the perfect opportunity to run away. As they're distracted, she transforms into a fox and then runs away. Vesemir tries to catch her by throwing a knife at her, but it's too late to catch Kitsu, who flees further into the forest. However, when Kitsu escapes, it's revealed to them that even the whole snow slide was an illusion. Afterwards, the pair come across an old and abandoned elven school where they find the bodies of numerous female elves. They also spot Philo Vandrel tied up inside. They free him, and he explains that the monster is a mutated elven girl. She's also behind the kidnappings of missing elf girls. She tried to mutate them as well. Moreover, after investigating, they also figure out that these girls are mutated in the same way witches are. Only the witches at Kaer Morhen know how to use this technique. The elf girl gets angry and puts all the blame on Vesemir. Amidst their argument, a mutated elven girl shows up who's still alive. Detroit aims her bow at her and shoots an arrow upon seeing her. However, the earth stops the arrow and decides to take the girl into its care. After leaving the hideout, Detroit uses her spell to destroy the place, while Vesemir rides towards Jermahan to confront his mentor and master witcher, Dieglin. He also stops by Elena's castle to tell her everything. On the other hand, Tyra finds Kitsu and confronts her. She puts all the blame on the witches and lures her to her side. It's also revealed that Tyra has managed to convince the king that witches are breeding monsters for their personal gain, which leads to the beheading of Luca. Vesemir reaches Kaer Morhen and destroys the door of their laboratory. Here he finds numerous vats of the same chemical that they found in the monster's hideout. Upon inspecting further, a monster jumps at him, and he kills it. He realizes that the myths were true, and witches were, in fact, breeding monsters for their personal gain. Suddenly, Dieglin walks in and admits to creating the monsters, as according to him, the witch's work was slowly diminishing due to a lack of monsters. Vesemir gets angry and tries to refute his idea. However, Dieglin seems unapologetic and tells him that Kitsu was also his creation. Vesemir says that he'll burn the place down, and the two engage in a sword fight. While they're fighting, a man announces that they have a visitor. It's none other than Elena. She came to warn them about Tyra. The witches gather on the roof and see that there's a huge mob ready to attack them. It's led by Tyra. Declan orders the mages to seal themselves in the lab and decides to fight Tyra and her army. Vesemir finally kisses Elena before heading towards the battle. Declan and Vesemir come face to face with Detroit, and they confront each other. Detroit reveals her true powers. Now, she's shown to be working alongside Kitsu to control the humans and a large horde of monsters. As the monsters and townsfolk attack the witches, Vesemir takes command and retaliates. They all attack at Vesemir's command and manage to kill some of the monsters. Although they put up a good fight, most of the witches are massacred due to the sheer number of monsters and humans. Declan, seeing the folly of his actions, tries to hold off the horde while Vesemir enters the building to kill Tyra. Tyra has taken Riedrich and the other mages as hostages. Elena tries to confront her, and while they're talking, Vesemir jumps in through the roof and confronts Tyra. He threatens that he can kill her in an instant. However, as soon as he says that, Kitsu arrives and plunges Vesemir into an illusion where he married Elena and had a child. Vesemir realizes that it's all an illusion and manages to snap out of it. Then he goes up against Detroit and furiously fights her. Despite all her efforts, Vesemir overpowers her and beheads her. Then, he also stabs Kitsu. As soon as he's done, the illusion eventually fades away. The person he beheaded is Riedrich, and the person he stabbed is Elena. While he's in shock, Detroit attacks Vesemir from behind, revealing that she saw a witcher murder her mother in cold blood when she was younger, explaining her hatred for witches. Before she can deal the final blow, Detroit is killed by Dieglin, who is half dead himself. Vesemir quickly picks up Elena and asks Dieglin about the others. Declan reveals that they're all dead. Dieglin then asks Vesemir to find the children and make them into better men before succumbing to his wounds. Vesemir gets up with Elena in his hands. He sees a fox as he's walking outside, indicating that it's Kitsu, and stops for a moment to kill her. However, Elena tells him that it isn't her fault and she never asked for this life. So Vesemir forgives her. He takes Elena to a lake, a wish she confided to Vesemir when they were young. The two share a moment together before Elena passes away peacefully in his arms. On the other hand, all the Witcher children walk in the woods, and they suddenly see Vesemir approaching them. He throws them their Witcher medallions and asks them to choose to become witches or walk away. Our boy Geralt states that everyone hates them and witches. Vesemir smirks and replies, "There'll always be more monsters, Geralt." The boys contemplate Vesemir's words before picking up their medallions. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe for more.